what is regulation? Why are we regulating? So biosafety is about regulating or looking at assessing risk around the impacts of a biological biotech product on human health or the environment. And in the case of gene editing, what we're seeing is decision trees to ask the question on whether this is a GMO or not as a first step. And if it falls into that GMO status, then we already have in place ways to evaluate potential routes of exposure, harm, all those sort of buzzwords around risk assessment.
Our company has been doing this, working with regulators since 2015. And I think in early days when the technology was very new and there were uncertainties about how it would be applied and having availability to make commercial animals, it was really difficult to have dialogue with regulators globally until people get to see what the animals are like and that they really work. It becomes a lot easier to understand that.
African countries are picking up in developing guidance for the regulation of genome editing, which is a new kind of approach in genetic engineering that is applying editing of genomes, tools that are used to edit genes of organisms with a view of improving certain traits.
One of those breeds that we're working on is the Holstein, which is the top cow globally for producing milk yield, highest producing milk yield in the world. The problem with the Holstein in the conditions of sub-Saharan Africa is oftentimes when it gets very hot, tropical heat, they suffer from heat stress. The heat stress lowers their ability to produce milk, it reduces their fertility, and it makes it very hard for the farmer to manage their nutrition and their health. And that experience has been consistent across time as many small-scale producers have accessed Holstein genetics. So what we're doing is to use a Nobel Prize-winning technology called CRISPR-Cas9. CRISPR-Cas9 was found in a laboratory in 2 different places in the United States, and it's being used a lot across a number of different applications, from improving human health to improving crops, and we're using it to improve the genetics of cattle.
Up to now we had 2 cattle, bovine, declared and considered non-GMO. One is the trait is called sleek, that confer to the animal thermotolerance, so the cattle who are more from North Hemisphere or breeds that are of difficult development in the tropical or the warm regions, they are much better. And the second was the double muscle or growth of muscle, is called myostatin, and also it was analyzed as a non-GMO because the technology didn't involve the transfers of genes or the use of recombinant DNA. This is based on the guidelines on this normative. And also a tilapia for muscle growth, for bigger fillet, for more fillet yield. So Brazil is now started with the animals in gene editing, but also now we have more and more plants being subjected to that. And in general, when they don't use technologies that are prevented in the guidelines, these organisms have been considered non-GMO.
When it comes to animal, like we know our gaps in terms of, for example, Nigeria uses about 1.5 billion USD every year to import dairy products. We need to do that backward integration because it's not that we don't have animals, but the situation whereby our cow produces about 1.5 liters of milk per day compared to countries and other species of the same type of animal across the world producing 25-30 liters. Can we be competitive? No. So is there a solution? Yes. What is the solution? Our animals are reacting to our temperature and our environment. So can we know those genes that are responsible for enhanced milk production and check our animal if they are silent? If they are silent, let's use this tool to activate them under this same environment instead of us wasting billions of dollars importing live animals.
One thing is, it's not a magic bullet. It's definitely not the solution of all is a miracle, but you can take let's say a breed or a population of animals that are in a certain stage of development and introduce their traits that will allow to give a jump. This jump would take 20, 30, 40 years in normal, regular breeding. With this technology, you can, in 1 year or 2 years, change the picture.
Part of the challenge for the commercial sector, for the private sector, is uncertainty. So if we haven't got certainty in our markets, and particularly in the regulatory processes, then it's very, very difficult. You want to know that if I come to Kenya and I can get an assessment there, I can go to Nigeria and get a similar assessment following similar framework with the same sort of decision process. But I also then want to be able to go to Ethiopia and I want to go to Zambia and I want to be able to ensure that I can get my product to where the need is, where the want is, without being unduly restricted by regulation.
As a region and even as a country, one of the key areas is really to allocate budgetary, financial budgetary allocations, either through our usual exchequer or bringing in private sector players. That is a very important area because our facilities, our resources are not sufficient to support this kind of research. Number two, we need also to relax our regulatory systems and make them science-based, make them predictable, and also coherent, so that when an applicant is assembling an application, one can even almost foretell what to expect, and also to break the wall between the applicants and the regulators, so that the two can talk together.
The impact of these technologies are going to be with the producers and the industry. For instance, the fillet, we can see that it could grow 30% in the fillet. So the growth of 30% means millions of dollars for the industry, and eventually can reflect in the decrease of price or a better quality product for the public. The steak is the same. If you make a steak from a thermo-intolerant cow or a thermotolerant cow, it's not really interested for the public. But he will get this steak in more quantity or more quality, eventually less price. So as I said, it's a chain.
I think there are more opportunities for livestock and animals with gene editing than there was with genetic modification. And I think if you look at the suite of products that are developed using gene editing, I think there's a bit of a balance, more of a balance between animals and plants, but also microbial systems as well. So for livestock and for animals, this is their opportunity because you're not introducing new genes, but you're able to correct defects, and defects that have been known for quite some time. And these simple changes can have profound effects. And you complement that with good breeding systems and genetic selection and some of the other productivity technologies, then the opportunities are almost endless.